I can hear you and I can see you. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. We announced a big show in Norway in 1 year, uh, just 4 hours ago.
Okay.
We're going to perform part one, part two, and part three live with guest musicians and a full symphony orchestra. So it's been a hectic few hours. Yeah.
Are you guys getting, so you guys have a whole year to get ready for that.
Yes, we have. We have. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot of work, though. But yeah, I think we'll be ready when it's time.
Looking forward to that. I mean, it must be exciting, first of all, to play the whole trilogy, have guests and an orchestra. Must be very exciting.
It is extremely exciting, and well, we've been doing this project now. We started working on the songs maybe even as far back as in 2017, maybe 2018. So it's like 7 years of our lives, and now in just a few days, the first, full album is going to be out. But there's so much more to come. So like it's only now it feels kind of real, if you know what I mean. And for me, sometimes we're still waiting for the vinyls. And that's like a physical, proof that we've done something. But like the sounds on Spotify or YouTube isn't really kind of, So yeah, looking forward to have the vinyl in my hands.
And listen to it properly. So,
Of course.
so the trilogy was planned since the beginning. It was always the idea to put out 3 records. Why?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's correct to say that the idea of doing a trilogy with Green Carnation was born after releasing Light of Day, Day of Darkness back in the early 2000s, which of course was a special album with only one track, a 60-minute long song. And since then, I think Green Carnation has always been a little bit of a more is more band when it comes to different ideas and to challenge ourselves. We did that acoustic show on top of the Norwegian mountains, which is just a stupid project, but it was a huge success for us. And so when deciding which way to go after Light of Day, Day of Darkness, that was quite hard for the band because it wasn't one obvious way from Light of Day, Day of Darkness to something else. And I think it was short to have had the idea of, as our label calls it, like epic storytelling, to continue the epic storytelling with doing a trilogy full of music. I would say now, luckily, we didn't do it back then because I'm not sure if we would have been able to finish it, to be honest. And then we did shorter, like regular albums and explore different atmospheres and genres, maybe even in until we stopped in 2006 or 7 and stayed away for 10 years. So when we got back together in 2016 for the 15th anniversary of Light of Day, Day of Darkness, we came back to the international scene, so to say, and played the song in the US and Canada and Europe and Norway, and we hadn't decided yet if we were going to continue with the band or if we were just going to leave it with that. But the response, I guess, from the crowd or from the metal, scene in general was so overwhelming for us that like it was a huge motivation to actually continue with the band, and that's when the trilogy idea popped up again, and we were talking a lot about it, and we thought we had it in us now, and we talked to different labels, and Season of Mist was like onto the idea straight away, and so we ended up doing a 5-album deal with them, giving us also time, to do like it was always the trilogy was always going to be the last 3 albums in the record deal, so we would give us time with releasing like Leaves of Yesteryear in 2020 to kind of wake up the world and tell the world that we're back, and then to re-release the acoustic verses the year after, or early 2022, I think maybe. So that was always the idea, and it's taken very, very long time. And to be honest with you, even like we're 50 years, around 50 years now, and I'm quite experienced as musicians, and I don't think we had any idea how much work it would mean for us to do this on the level that we wanted to do it, and with the people and the orchestra and everything. It's just an amazing amount of work, and I'm glad to say we haven't done any compromises. So we're like really eager for this to come out.
Yeah. And so you said like 2018, that was when you guys kind of started working on it. How long, like, the music did it take to be finished and recorded? How long was that period when you actually said like, okay, now it's a trilogy, 3 records? When did it started and when did it finished, really, the recordings?
We started in 2018, and we continued working with it even when we worked with Leaves of Yesteryear, because it was quite obvious for us which songs needed to be on Leaves of Yesteryear and which songs needed to be on the trilogy, kind of. So we didn't make the trilogy as like we first made one album and then one album and then one album. We just made a huge number of songs. And then we kind of, even after recording it, we stayed in the studio from April till December in 2024. So we worked with the demos all the way from 2018 to 2024. And then we went into the studio for 7 or 8 months or something like that. Not every day for 8 hours a day, but then there was a summer in there and a little bit of a holiday and stuff. So, but it was a lot of work in the studio as well, of course. And then, so 8 years or 7 years it took us. So when we had all the songs, we tried to compose 3 albums for the albums to kind of have their own, to be able to stand on their own legs. So when you listen to the first album, I think you don't really miss anything. You don't feel that you need a part 2 necessarily. When part 2 is going to come, I hope that people are going to feel the same, that this is a great record. It can stand on its own legs. But it's when you hear album 3 that you would understand that this is all connected. And I cannot say too much about it right now, but that's the idea for us. Yeah.
So what is the, in a general way, lyrically, what is the concept of this trilogy?
Yeah. You probably already noticed that it's not like a story that starts on the first song and ends on the last song. We're dealing with the same kind of issues and some of the same kind of feelings throughout the 3 albums. And they are like feelings of being disconnected to the development around you and kind of near you. And also when it comes to the big politics and to the AI technology. And again, we're kind of getting not maybe old, but we think that the world moves too fast. Sometimes I just want to throw everything away and go and live on a hut in the mountains, not to be bothered by all of the noise, So there's a lot of noise in the world when it comes to even quite close to you. It's about loss. It's about potential loss of dear ones. Both me and Stein Roger, the main lyricist, have lost. He lost both his mother and his father during this period, and you could maybe hear some of the questions and the regrets that he has to his parents, for example. Now he's a parent himself, and there's a lot of worrying with sending your little ones out in the world when the world is like it is, of course. Yeah. And I think many people would recognize some of those feelings. It's about alienation. For me, like it's about not knowing what's true anymore. That bothers me a lot. I don't see the point in it, Yeah. And I think many people would, maybe especially our age, would recognize some of the, very uncomfortable feelings that we have when we go to bed in the evening and when we wake up in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, there was no internet, there was no phones. I mean, we had the telephone at home, the landline, but, the previous day we were with friends and we would make up a time for the following day to meet in a certain place. We'd all be there and, we just play football. We would play whatever games there was back then. Not a fucking worry about anything. Even I grew up in an area that was a bit mixed between being, it was a poor place, but he had like a lot of journalism and they had like a music school. So there was like really contrasty because we had drugs and like prostitution in one end and we had the school and the journalists on the other. So it was like a mix of it was a melting pot of whatever things. But we would go out and we knew there were certain dangers, but we wouldn't worry too much. We were together, we had fun. But nowadays it seems to like you're really not sure if you should go to a certain place. Back then I wouldn't care, I would go, and I wouldn't worry, but now it's different. There is a sense of, is it a good place to go? Is it nice? And with technology, like with AI, as you were saying, like we have these fake videos where now someone can use your voice to create something that you didn't say, and that is the scariest part, and all the lies that, especially with politicians or, right-wing parties using a lot of that propaganda to place fear in people's minds as well. It's very weird times. I never thought, after the pandemic, I was just hoping for, peace and quiet, let's enjoy, but it became worse. We had the war in the Ukraine and all of a sudden the rise of extreme right. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, we're talking about many of these things. It's not necessarily to say that everything was better before. I don't think that's the motivation, but it's just the feeling you have inside when you lose control, kind of, over you're close to your loved ones. You cannot decide who's gonna be alive around you. And Jorge, who is the main lyricist in the band, he has a wife with a brain cancer, so he doesn't know if she's going to be alive the next day. And that does something with a person and with the worries very, very close to you. And then you look outside the window or into a screen and then everything is just chaos. Kind of. So and we needed 3 albums to kind of empty ourselves of all those frustrations, I guess.
I think it's kind of a therapy. If you are able to do that, it feels a bit like therapy. Some people go jogging, some people go to the mountains and, for a few weeks or to a forest, you are able to write music and probably go to a mountain as well.
Well, yes, we have done that. It's I would say that most of the 3 albums have been written in a house in the mountains or in the woods, at least a couple of hours away from where we live. It's so much quieter there. We can put away our phones and we can concentrate on the music, because in the everyday life, you cannot concentrate on anything for more than a few seconds before something happens, So that's been great for us. And me and Jorge has been going up there for sometimes for 2 days, sometimes for 4 days, and then being in the music all the time. Eating, drinking, composing, eating some more, composing, then some sleep. If that's in the morning or if that's in the evening, doesn't really matter, because you're in this bubble of creativity. And that's been, most of the album's songs have been like at least partially composed in that kind of environment.
Yeah. I'm a city boy. I was born in Lisbon, in a big city. I always got used to noise. But one of the things I appreciate, it's when you go high in the mountain, there is nothing else other than nature.
Yeah.
You can just sit, look at the world with a different perspective, the calmness, the peace, the quiet, just watching the birds, little animals, whatever it is, and just enjoy that. I hope we never lose that, because it would be scary if we lost that, and future generations wouldn't be able to appreciate that. I mean, we are on the way of destroying this planet anyway, but hopefully it's still going to last a few years.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I think there's been like I've heard it sometimes that like humans they tend to search for the top because then you're in control, right? Then you have nothing. You have you can have control over everything behind you, in front of you, on your sides because you have like maybe and also it's healthy. I heard for a person to see long into the into the like to see long so to also be out by the sea to be able to kind of it's also a sense of control, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and I'll be honest, because when I go on holidays, I go to the countryside and I enjoy the quiet, but at the same time, I kind of miss some of the noise. Not the whole noise. It's just the, sometimes hearing kids outside just screaming because of something, or the neighbors arguing about something else. But at the same time, being in a peaceful place, I mean, it's absolutely priceless. And, we have like a situation like it's a bit all over because of the house prices and stuff. I think it's a global thing. It's not just, one country or two countries. I think it's kind of a global thing. And, if there was a chance of being able to do the work, but in a quiet place, it would be perfect.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. I'm also an urban person, even though I'm not from a huge place. I've lived in a city. Well, it's not the size of Lisbon, of course, but it's a fairly big Norwegian city. And I do like, to go to concerts and events and debates and everything that kind of challenges my brain,
Yeah.
of course. But then you have that unwanted noise that you never really asked for, and that's, I think, what we're talking more about on the
Yeah,
on the dark poem. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the things that I went to Denmark a few years ago, and one of the things I admire about the Scandinavian were that they wouldn't bother you as long as you wouldn't bother them. They were in their place. I remember going in the train and going on a bus, and everybody was doing their own thing, sitting, reading a book on their phone, just looking through the window. And in Portugal, that's impossible. People just talk. It's just, it's different. Like in Portugal, it's very noisy. People are noisy by nature. And when I was in Denmark, it was more peaceful in that sense that I know you're normally Scandinavian people, they're friendly if they know the person. If they don't know the person, they won't bother with the person. But, it was something that I admire was, people doing their own thing without, it was really relaxing. And I was like for a week there in Copenhagen, and, we traveled a bit up north and stuff, and it was relaxing. It wasn't like here, if you go to Porto, if you go on a motorway, it's nerve-wracking. People are just freaking crazy. But there it was really relaxing. I don't know if every Nordic is like that, but, I had that sense it was a bit more relaxing and less noisy in a way.
Yeah, it's a good observation. And I remember here in Norway, we're maybe even more like that. And during COVID, some people were so happy because they could take like a bus and there would be nobody beside them even, you know. So they just wanted it to continue because it was so nice, kind of.
Yeah, it's I don't. I'm a bit antisocial, to be honest. Even when I go to a concert, I like to be on the, on one side, and just I don't want people to. I just want people to leave me alone. I want to enjoy the music, enjoy the band playing, and I really don't like when people are talking about something else.
No,
It's so annoying. And
it's unnecessary. Yeah.
So, besides that show next year that you guys announced, play with an orchestra, what are other plans to play live shows to promote this trilogy?
Yeah. We're going to go to the US in just a few days, in 4 days or something, to present the entire first part live 2 days before the release at Prog Power US in Atlanta. Which is a familiar festival for us. We've been there a couple of times before. It suits us really well, and we kind of, I think we're adopted into the Prog Power US family somehow, which is very nice. So we wanted to give them the treat of being the first people who hear it live. And I think maybe like we haven't been the first band that bookers on festivals and tour bookers have thought about the last few years, because it's been fairly quiet around us while writing, this monumental piece of music. So, but I think now the attention around the band is going to be it seems like it's going to be quite big around the first release, and then it's just going to be some months before the next one, and then some months before the next one. So I think maybe during the next couple of weeks and months, we will probably kind of hear from some more bookers from maybe especially European summer festivals next year, which would be interesting for us. But right now we don't have too many plans, to be honest, because I think it's just a bit too early.
Yeah.
But I think from now on, I think Green Carnation is going to be, lots of reviews. The first or all the reviews we've received until now has been absolutely amazing. So that will probably be noticed by somebody, but it's just a few until now. But from, I think, this weekend and through next weekend, when the album is launched, and for a little while after that, and with interviews and the big magazines, and I think maybe we're going to come back into people's attention again, kind of.
Yeah, and on this record, before I forget, there's one of the songs for me that's an highlight because it's a contrasty from the other songs. The Slave That You Are, with Gruntle from Enslave as a guest. It's really a contrasty song compared to the other songs on the record. So what was the idea on this song? And I mean, did you had in mind the guy from Enslaved as soon as you were writing it?
No, it was like all of the songs on the first album and of the second and third as well has been through maybe between 15 and 25 different versions, not necessarily completely different versions, but they've been developing in many steps. Yeah. This one had quite an aggressive riff that we started off. We started off writing the song with a quite extreme riff, which is the opening riff of the song, with not so extreme drums. And then the verse started, and I did some clean vocals. And then as the song developed, the extreme, the atmosphere of the first riff was it needed the drums to be more extreme, for the guitar part to be more alive, and the drums just became more and more extreme, and eventually the song needed some other kind of vocals in the verses, and I've known Kjetil for many years, and he knows the band a lot. He likes the band, and we're friends with Enslaved, and me and Kjetil talked about maybe fairly late in the evening sometimes that it would be fun to do something together, like all musicians do after 10 o'clock, I guess.
Yeah.
So I just I said to Sten Roger when we worked with the song that I did get a little bit of like a little bit of an enslaved feeling from it, even like long before we asked
Yeah.
him, and maybe a little bit of my maybe primordial
Yeah.
vibes to some of it as well. And when we decided to try and do some extreme vocals, I tried to do it first. It's not my expertise at all, but we managed to do something in the studio, so it actually sounded quite cool. And all the guys in the band wanted for it to stay like that. But again, making no compromises on anything, it would make me uncomfortable if I knew that like we could have somebody who does this in like a world-class way.
Yeah.
So let's just ask him. And of course, he accepted, which was great. And then he did his work in Bergen, where he lives, and sent the files to us. And it was just exactly what the song needed. So that's how he ended up on the album. And although I recognize and agree, I think some people are gonna be quite shocked when they turn around the first, because it's song 4. They're gonna turn around the vinyl if they have the vinyl, and then after that, like more mellow song and to the first page, that's gonna kind of shock a few people. But I've heard many people say that okay, they were a bit shocked, but at the end of the song, they felt, oh, this is a typical Green Carnation song after all, because there's so many Green Carnation vibes in everything, although we use some different, different kind of vocals and some more extreme way of drumming, for example, and stuff like that. So I think it fits really well on the album. And it's a good variation. And also Me, My Enemy, the song before that, is also a good variation. Yeah. So I think kind of makes the album richer.
Yeah, I think for me, it brought the attention back to the record. I was listening it with headphones and I was, just taking notes, and it kind of made me stop and listen to it. He said, like, what's happening here? And so it brought me back to the record. And I think that's the effect that's going to do. Might be a shock, but I think in the sense, an album should be a journey, ups and downs. And I think this is that moment where all of a sudden you go up and then you go.
Then you go down to the Shores of Melancholia afterwards, which is like much more mellow. And I would say that The Slave That You Are is also a very melodic song, of course, but it's a different kind of atmosphere in it. So then you kind of land down in the Shores of Melancholia, and then to the last track of the album, it's just becoming more and more epic along the way, and then you don't know where it's going to end, and then suddenly it ends, and that's the end of the first album.
And then you start listening to it again.
hopefully. Yeah.
So what is if you can say the timetable for the second record and the third, if it's possible to say?
It's possible to say that the next one is going to be out before next summer, and the third one is going to be out after next summer. And we'll have to come back to the exact dates, but there's going to be, all of the 3 albums are recorded. The second album is being mixed right now. So we're like, I don't know if that's because we're getting old as well, but it's a really good, well-planned project. So, up through the career, you had great ideas, but way too late for them to be realistic. But this time we gave ourselves the time to get the good ideas and to have the time actually to fulfill the ideas, the best ideas at least.
Yeah, I think it works really well. This first chapter, it's really, really good. The reviews are spot on. I read some of them and I listened to the records, and I, even though I'm not the kind of guy that writes reviews because I just like to enjoy music, it's a very personal thing. I don't like to grade, albums, because if I like it, I really like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. So if I don't like something, why should I write something bad about it? Because I know someone will enjoy it. It's just an opinion. And for me, it's not, I don't think it's fair, because I'm not a musician, and, someone put an effort into try to make something that for them it's good, and for some fans it's good. Why should I be the one to say, no, it sucks, it's bad, I don't like it. I don't have the right to do that. So I prefer, if I like the records, I like the record, I enjoy it, I listen to it, I'll buy it, and I try to talk with the band. And that's what I do. If I don't like it, I say I don't have time to do interviews.
Yeah, that's a good tactic.
Yeah, I'll try to be gentle about it. Right. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for your time. All the best for Green Carnation. Hopefully, can see you guys back in Portugal next year. You
that would
play.
be really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a great time last time we were in Portugal.
Yeah, it was on the Under the Doom Festival, I
Yeah,
think.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
in 2017 or something, maybe.
Yeah.
18, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was at that show. I really enjoyed that night, and so hopefully, the festival is still going on. It's in September this year, so maybe next year we can have Green Carnation back in Portugal.
That'd be
Right?
nice.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
we're up for that. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have
Thanks
a
a lot
great
for your
day, and
time
hope
as
to
well.
see you soon. All right. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.